Anti-Semitism is on the rise in the U.S. and, in fact, according to the Anti-Defamation League, a record number of anti-Semitic incidents occurred in the country last year. Some of the latest high-profile incidents are reigniting a conversation about how to stop them. Entertainer Nick Cannon and NFL wide receiver Deshaun Jackson apologized after being criticized for making anti-Semitic comments, and both said they would learn more about Jewish culture and history. National correspondent Jericka Duncan joins us now. Jericka, good morning. So what could they expect to learn?
Well, good morning to you, Tony. You know, the African-American community and the Jewish community, the relationship has been at times very strong, sometimes contentious and even complex. So we decided to take a look back at how we got here and what lies ahead.
This Instagram post sparked an unexpected conversation. Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Deshaun Jackson posted a quote he attributed to Adolf Hitler. It read in part, "Jews will blackmail America."
I believe that this is only through education, because all people are the same. No difference as far as I'm concerned.
So Holocaust survivor Edward Mosberg turned it into a teaching moment. The 94-year-old invited Jackson to visit Auschwitz, where nearly 1 million Jews were murdered during Hitler's regime.
He immediately accepted.
What does that say about Deshaun Jackson?
What to say? As he's a gentleman.
Mosberg says he lost 16 relatives in the Holocaust. He now travels the world to teach people about the horrors he and millions of others faced.
How did you survive?
By luck. That's all.
Mosberg's and Jackson's story of acceptance and learning is one that derives from a deep and rich history. Black and Jewish Americans have linked arm in arm in their fights for equality. Terrence Johnson is an associate professor at Georgetown who teaches a class called Blacks and Jews in America.
There's something about religion and politics that are deeply ingrained within the traditions, both within Blacks and American Jews. And so when they see themselves fighting against, say, segregation, Jim Crow, or anti-Semitism, in the back of their mind, they're thinking of the Exodus motif, this idea that God is with them in history.
Their intertwined paths brought them together during the Civil Rights Movement. During what became known as Freedom Summer in 1964, 2 Jewish men and 1 Black man, Andrew Goodman, Michael Schwerner, and James Chaney, were murdered in Mississippi while trying to register Black Americans to vote. Their deaths and the subsequent media coverage sparked a major change in the portrayal of the movement.
America must not remain silent.
And at the historic 1963 March on Washington, it was Rabbi Joachim Prince who spoke just before his friend, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Bigotry and hatred are not the most urgent problems. The most shameful and the most tragic problem is silence.
But the long-standing relationship has turned fraught at times, with some members of both groups feeling that their concerns were no longer a priority for their partners. The Crown Heights riot of 1991 in Brooklyn saw tensions between Black and Jewish communities escalate to violence, including the murder of an Australian Jewish student.
Both groups are trying to fight against racism, anti-Semitism. Both are trying to assimilate, but both are having a very difficult time in the process. And both are actually pushed and forced into a kind of strange and asymmetrical relationship.
But someone who believed in the power of a good relationship was Congressman John Lewis.
We sponsored Black Jewish Young Leaders retreats, and Congressman Lewis would spend the evening with us, helping Blacks and Jews.
Sherry Frank worked side by side with Congressman Lewis on the Black Jewish Coalition in Atlanta.
We marched to mark important events. We spoke out in support of renewal of the Voting Rights Act. I see the future of Black-Jewish relations even strengthened by the stress and the polarization and the bigotry and anti-Semitism and racism that's just flourishing in our world today.
As for Edward Mosberg, he says he will continue until his last breath to bring Blacks and Jews together.
Does it feel like African Americans and Jewish people should be more connected because of our plights?
Not more connected, they should be highly connected, okay? Because the Jewish people went through the slavery in Europe, okay? And the people here were slavery here by their own people, because it was wrong, wrong, wrong.
Wrong it was. Mossberg and Jackson have not visited Auschwitz just yet. They're still in the planning stage. And as we reflect on Congressman John Lewis this week, it was just last year that he and Sherry Frank helped to create the bipartisan Congressional Caucus on Black and Jewish relations. So again, his legacy living on. Gayle?
Oh, it's such an important story you just told, Jericka, and my heart just melts with Mr. Mossberg. Such an eloquent man in the way that he tells it. I think a lot of people should be taking the Blacks and Jews in America course. Very, very enlightening story. Thank you very much,
He invited us
Jericka.
to go as well. Mossberg invited us to go on that trip with him and Deshaun Jackson. He sure did.
Are you going?
Well, it's up to CBS This
Jericka?
Morning. I would love to go and cover that. I think it would be great.
Okay, there you go. Diana Miller, our producer, said, yes, you're going. Oh, that's great. That's great. Thank you very much.